She jams the needle deep into her arm, watching the blood squirt out with cold eyes. Then she frantically splatters the blood all over the kitchen cabinets. As for the rest of it, she splashes a massive amount right across the floorboards. Amy slips on gloves and meticulously smears the blood around. Those uneven, horrifying bloodstains are about to become the ultimate ironclad evidence of a murder. With that done, she intentionally leaves behind messy cleanup tracks. The cracks in the floor and the blood-soaked weapon turn into perfect breadcrumbs left for the police. To make the chain of evidence absolutely flawless, she handwrites a fake diary spanning 300 pages. It goes from the absolute sweetness of falling in love to the terrifying reality of domestic abuse. Neglect, fear, violence, every single word screams accusation, locking in her image as a helpless victim. The diary gets tossed into the fireplace, burned to just the right extent. She makes damn sure the police can easily find it while still reading the desperate handwriting clearly. Finally, she violently flips over a stool and smashes the living room coffee table to pieces. At this very moment, her husband Nick is out drinking his regrets away at a bar when he suddenly gets a call from his neighbor. When he rushes back home, the house is completely empty. The living room is a total disaster zone, the coffee table shattered to bits. His wife's mysterious disappearance triggers a terrible gut feeling. Detective Boney flashes her badge at the door with a team. They search everywhere and quickly spot the blood residue left on the cabinets. The detective throws him a cold stare, her eyes dripping with suspicion. After all, in a wife-killing case, the husband is almost always the prime suspect. The police drag Nick back to the station, ruthlessly collecting his fingerprints and DNA. According to Nick's statement, they have been married for 5 years. His wife, Amy, is a nationally famous author and actually holds a doctorate in psychology. After marriage, she stopped working and settled down to be a full-time housewife. To take care of his sick mother, he dragged his wife back to his remote hometown. Amy's life instantly became dull and empty, leaving her without a single friend. Facing the interrogation, Nick's story is full of holes, failing to give any useful clues. To preserve the crime scene, a stressed-out Nick has no choice but to crash with his twin sister, Margot, frantically venting his frustrations to her. The police head back to the scene to dig deeper, only to get stopped right in their tracks by a strange pregnant woman. She claims to be Amy's top-secret best friend, Noelle. Learning about Amy's disappearance, she acts completely frantic with worry. Detective Boney listens with a blank face, having no clue Amy even had a bestie like this, and has to brush her off by claiming she is too busy with work. Right after that, the police discover that all the assets in this household are entirely under Amy's personal name. The property rights even include the bar Nick runs with his sister. The detective doesn't think much of it at first and keeps tossing the bedroom drawers until she finally finds the first treasure hunt clue left by Amy. The police haul Nick back to the station again, grilling him on what the clue means. Nick explains this is his wife's quirky hobby. Every single year on their wedding anniversary, Amy leaves behind treasure hunt clues to spice up their relationship. Following the riddle of the first clue, Nick takes the detective to his office and successfully tracks down the second clue. But right as he reads out the riddle, the sharp-eyed detective hits an unexpected jackpot. She reaches into a file organizer on the wall and pulls out a pair of women's lace underwear on the spot. While mocking him for being a total player, she playfully drops the underwear into an evidence bag. The riddle of the second clue points to a mysterious brown house. Yet facing the detective's questioning, Nick actually chooses to hide it. In the dead of night, Nick shakes off the cops and sneaks into a house alone, easily grabbing the third clue off the table. But the moment he turns around, he finds Detective Boney tracking him like a ghost. Terrified, he instantly hides the clue behind his back, lying that this is his father's house, claiming he checks in every week to make sure it doesn't catch fire or anything. Although the detective is oozing skepticism, she sees the blue paint on the house and lets him slide for now, because Nick's father's name is Brown. A total deadlock in the court of public opinion, Amy's wealthy parents rush to town and throw a massive national press conference. They want to mobilize the entire American media to bring back their missing baby girl. Nick takes the stage, giving a totally half-assed overview before standing to the side with a cold look. His wife's life hanging in the balance doesn't seem to faze him at all. In fact, as the media cameras flash like crazy, he actually cracks a bizarre, creepy smile out of nowhere. The second the press conference wraps up, Nick looks like a massive weight has been lifted, eagerly greeting the guests in the crowd without showing a shred of anxiety. This ridiculous behavior pushes the police's suspicions straight through the roof. The detective later digs into Amy's social circle, but absolutely nobody has any memory of a pregnant best friend. In Nick's memory, this person doesn't exist either. Right then, a beautiful female reporter approaches him asking for a selfie. A completely clueless Nick doesn't just say yes, he actually smiles for the camera again. The husband's bizarre antics are instantly blown up and blasted on repeat across TV networks. He gets branded as a heartless, cold-blooded scumbag everyone loves to hate. At a prayer vigil for Amy, Nick takes the stage to drop his usual scripted PR talk. But the neighbors in the crowd are totally over it. Before he can even finish a few sentences, that pregnant woman furiously cuts him off. She is holding a child, and she is none other than Noelle, the self-proclaimed bestie. She asks what he did to his wife, shouting if he dares tell everyone that Amy is already 6 months pregnant. The second she drops that bomb, the room goes dead silent before erupting into total chaos. Nick instantly plunges into extreme panic, swarmed and cornered by a frantic mob of citizens and reporters. He makes a messy escape straight into a police cruiser. Detective Boney chases him into the car, cornering him about whether he knew the truth about his wife's pregnancy. But Nick screams in despair that the woman is a lunatic and he has never met her in his life. The detective just hits him with a cold smirk, throwing down several photos that are entirely intimate shots of Amy and that exact woman together. Before he can even scramble for an explanation, the detective brings him back into the house's dining room. She takes a small hop on the floor and a picture frame on the wall rattles right off. Such sloppy placement details prove that a brutal physical struggle went down right here. The detective then pulls out a luminol fluorescence report. Ironclad evidence proves that a massive amount of blood splatter used to cover the floor. Nick completely loses his mind, trying to make some weak, pathetic excuses, but the detective directly slaps down a thick stack of maxed out credit card statements, locking in his motive for murder. The bills are loaded with massive, extravagant splurges that completely exceed his actual financial status. To make matters worse, Amy had just purchased a massive life insurance policy, and Nick is the sole beneficiary, with the coverage suddenly bumped up very recently. Before he can even clear that up, the detective gets an urgent call from the hospital confirming that Amy indeed left behind a pregnancy record. The situation crashes into the ultimate dead end. Facing the interrogation, Nick completely snaps, saying he will not say another single word until his lawyer gets here. A desperate counterattack and the brutal truth. After the police leave, a cornered Nick pulls out the third clue. Written right on it are the words punishment, wood, beach. He repeats it over and over in his head until a lightning bolt finally flashes through his brain. When he shakes as he opens his backyard shed door, he freezes on the spot, completely paralyzed with fear. Every single expensive luxury item from those bills is perfectly stashed away right here. Once the police dig this up, he is completely screwed with zero way to clear his name. He scrambles to call his twin sister Margot, explaining the whole setup. The siblings realize with painful clarity that Nick is absolutely no match for his high IQ genius wife. Meanwhile, following the clues, the police head back to that brown house. They brutally tear open the fireplace and finally track down the diary that is over half burned away. Every single line bleeds with Amy's desperate struggle. The diary says Amy was originally a high society girl from New York who met a funny, charming Nick at a party. Nick gently ran his fingers across her lips, capturing her heart in a heartbeat. But after marriage, Nick showed his true colors, getting completely addicted to online video games, spending money like water, and having absolute zero patience for her. The ultimate killing blow comes when Amy accidentally catches her husband cheating red-handed, and the corny lines he uses to smooth talk that young girl are exactly the same moves he used to chase her back then. The perfect marriage everyone envied had completely spiraled to the brink of collapse. To win back her cheating husband, Amy submissively suggests having a baby. But Nick's eyes hold nothing but pure disgust as he desperately tries to shove her away and run out. During a fierce argument, Nick suddenly turns violent, throwing her down with a hard shove, making her crash violently into the stairs. Amy lies in a pool of blood, her eyes filled with endless horror. She has no clue what insane move this abusive husband will make next. To completely destroy this traitor, Amy engineered this meticulous, life-risking setup for his absolute destruction. Before this, she purposefully cuts off her full head of blonde hair with her own hands, then she grabs cheap hair dye, changing her hair and eyebrows to the most trashy color imaginable. With all that done, she cleans the bathroom with absolute calmness. Everything she does is to make herself completely vanish from the face of the earth. Months ago, she intentionally got close to her pregnant neighbor, Noelle, frantically whining about a fake reality where her husband beats her regularly. After successfully playing the sympathy card, she invites her over. The second the neighbor steps out of the restroom, Amy stealthily steals her pregnant urine sample. Armed with this pee sample, she successfully locks in her medical proof of pregnancy at the hospital. At the same time, she secretly maxes out Nick's credit cards, specifically hunting down high-end luxury items to buy, then stashing them perfectly untouched inside the abandoned shed. To fully secure the charges of her husband killing his wife, she buys a massive insurance policy for herself, putting her husband's name as the beneficiary. But that still isn't foolproof enough. She maniacally writes 300 pages of a tragic diary, fabricating a daily routine of domestic abuse. Finally, she burns exactly half the diary. A touching story always makes a murder highly convincing. She buys a used black car from a black market thug, driving away smoothly on the day of the crime with a devilish, torious smirk plastered on her face. Assuming a brand new persona as a poor woman, Amy rents a room at a remote motel. She lies that she is running from domestic violence, easily scamming her new neighbors into trusting her. They get along fine at first, but one day while playing a game, the massive wad of cash hidden on Amy accidentally drops all over the floor. She scrambles to pick it up, but a creepy white trash neighbor locks his eyes on it anyway. The thug neighbors violently bust right into Amy's room. They see right through her wig and trashy glasses, betting this runaway woman will never dare call the cops, and forcefully rob her of every single cent of her cash on the spot. Left completely penniless, a desperate Amy has no choice but to call her ultra-wealthy ex-boyfriend Dezai, who is completely obsessed with her. Over the phone, she plays the ultimate pathetic, cornered victim, begging him under no circumstances to call the police. An ecstatic Dezai is overjoyed, picking her up overnight to bring her back to his private luxury mansion. He caringly tells her that the place is hooked up with 24/7 CCTV surveillance, plenty to guarantee absolute security with zero interruptions. So Amy hides out here temporarily, quietly waiting for the day the court sentences her husband to death. But she never expected her ex-boyfriend Dizai to have a psycho, hyper-controlling streak, locking her up every single day like a caged bird. She absolutely loathes this life of losing control, knowing damn well she will get exposed sooner or later if this keeps up. She has to flip the script, the ultimate marital hell. Meanwhile, back in the real world, thanks to the perfect ironclad evidence Amy left behind, Nick has completely become America's #1 most hated scumbag, facing a death penalty charge for murder. To save his own skin, Nick decides to play a high-stakes wild card. He takes the initiative to contact the biggest TV network in the country for an exclusive interview. In front of the live cameras, he delivers a textbook performance of deep devotion and reformation, crying and apologizing to the American public, confessing straight up to his cheating and betrayal, stating how much he failed his wife. Finally, he stares sincerely and intensely right into the lens, hoping Amy sees his repentance and comes home safe real soon. Watching this unfold in front of the TV, Amy's toxic need for control gets the ultimate satisfaction. She feels like the man she personally broke like a dog is finally back, so she makes an even crazier decision to go home. But right now, she is a missing person who framed her husband for murder. To make a flawless comeback, she must cook up an pocket-tight excuse for her disappearance. So while her ex-boyfriend Dizai tries to get intimate, she intentionally bites his lip raw with vicious force, purposefully messing up her clothes and hair, making sure this entire scene plays out perfectly right under the mansion's CCTV cameras. Next, she brutally cuts her own wrists with ropes and dumps a massive amount of red wine, fabricating a horrific scene of being psycho imprisoned and abused by her ex. That night, an unsuspecting Dizai walks into the bedroom, seeing Amy sitting on the edge of the bed waiting for him in sexy lingerie. The man gets instantly turned on to the max. But right at the peak moment of their wild, passionate intimacy, Amy pulls a freezing cold box cutter out from under the pillow with zero warning, slashing the man's carotid artery with pinpoint. The next morning, a blood-soaked Amy dramatically shows up right at her front door. Countless reporters swarm her instantly, snapping photos like crazy. Under the glaring spotlights of national media attention, she weakly collapses, covered in blood, straight into a terrified Nick's arms. Facing intense interrogation from the police, she holds firm that she was psycho-kidnapped by her ex-boyfriend, Dizai, and brutally tortured for a whole month, until last night when she found her one and only window to kill him in self-defense and escape from the jaws of death. Backed up by the security footage, her fabricated alibi is completely bulletproof. Just like that, the couple transforms into America's most famous doting husband and wife, returning home surrounded by a wild cult following of fans. Amy easily plays the police with a flawless lie, but Nick feels completely frozen to the bone holding her. He knows all too well that the person sharing his bed is a stone-cold, ruthless serial killer. He wants to expose the truth a million times over, but Amy shuts him down completely with a freezing, threatening glare. Right now, he is America's model husband, and Amy is the nation's sweetheart. No matter what he says now, the fans and the media will never believe him. They live a completely fake celebrity lifestyle. Their bar even opens up countless chain locations. All of this seems like something he has to thank Amy for. And then, right on cue, Amy hands Nick her final devastating gift with a smile. She is pregnant. Nick flies into an instant rage, snapping that it is physically impossible since they have been separated for ages. But Amy leans into his ear, whispering with savage cruelty that she secretly extracted Nick's sperm that he had frozen at the hospital a while back. Nick snaps, slamming her hard against the wall, wishing he could murder her on the spot. But staring at this innocent, undeniable child, he completely throws in the towel. He gives up the fight and surrenders to despair. In front of the camera, the couple holds hands tight once again, wrapping up an interview facing the entire American media. A satisfied, victorious smile spreads across Amy's face. A broken childhood takes a lifetime to patch up. But this perfect marriage is going to be a living hell that Nick can never ever escape from.